Alright, YouTube, I am back. Having ADHD makes it kind of difficult to focus on any one subject and speak. So, apologies ahead of time if I'm all over the place. I can't really help it. But eventually I'll be writing scripts and I'll be able to stay on point. Spend a few hours thinking things over to refine and articulate what I have to say. Alright, so Resident Evil 2, the original. I don't remember playing the original. I think I may have. I know that I played some horror games on the first PlayStation because they kind of freaked me out. Parasite Eve was one of them. Parasite Eve was a little more fun though, in this style of it was not quite as scary as Resident Evil, we'll say. But Resident Evil, man, that was something else. Resident Evil 2 remake. This video game, I would like to recite some of my PlayStation 1 era stuff too, but Resident Evil 2 remake. Let's see. The first time I actually bought my own Resident Evil game to play the whole thing through, I think was Resident Evil 4. I was for the PlayStation 2 back in like 2012, early 2012. The game was actually only 6 years old at that point. It's kind of odd to think about it now. Because today, a 6-year-old game, we're looking at Final Fantasy 15. It came out in 2016. Of course, it's a lot better now because they refined it. I look at like Grand Theft Auto came out in 2013. That was 8 years ago. Still haven't really played that one through either. Last one I played all the way through was Grand Theft Auto 4. It was good. The Resident Evil 2 remake. A few points. The Tyrant was scary. That guy was stalking me through the building. It was kept my heart racing. Kept me excited, kept me a little bit afraid and anxious. Surprised me a few times, scared me a few times. It was something else. I like Claire Redfield. I like some of the stuff I did with her. I like some of the interaction between her and Leon. I wish Resident Evil 3 and 2 would have been combined into the same game. I still wish they would do that for PlayStation 5. And I mean actually combine the two into the same game, not just have a game that you go to and you choose between 2 and 3. That's when you want to play. Now, I want a little bit of storyline, a little bit of interaction. I want to see Jill in that police station. I want to see Leon run around here or there or wherever. The underground hospital. There's so many cool things going on. Resident Evil 3 was really cool because of that little area of the city that you were in when you began the game. That was really fun. The next step for Resident Evil 3 think, moved on to. See, where do you go after you're in the city there? So you go from the city to the train. So you go from the city to the sewers, pretty much. Kind of like you do in Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 is a little bit weird in you've got 3 locations and they're all like on the same map, which I really like. Tells me there's a lot of potential for a great Onimusha game. But I played Resident Evil 2. I remember going to the sewer second and then the underground lab there. It's kind of like that with Jill. Pretty much the same thing. I don't know where that hospital is located overall in the city, but I know there are some areas of the city that's a little bit different for Jill. And she ended up right there at the police station. It was a little bit different for Jill than it was for Leon. You know, when you go out and you look over left from the garage at the police station, it's a little bit dark on Resident Evil 2, whereas on Resident Evil 3, there's a map where you play there. That would have to be fixed a little bit. I'd like it to stay dark and dingy out that way when you look that way. Be a little bit dark and dingy when you're there. You know, maybe have some of the lights dimmed down. But just combine them, you know? And do a chronology story where you start off as maybe Claire or Jill or Leon or whatever, and you're playing through a little bit. Maybe have Leon start off doing some police training to learn the mechanics. And then show a cutscene of Claire shooting a gun, so you know she's kind of got some skill. She's, you know, trained herself in how to use guns. Jill, of course, is a soldier. So you do that. Maybe even mark Leon as a marksman. You know, he's shooting, and the storyline after the cutscene of your tutorial says, "Oh wow, you're really good." Have to do a cutscene of just shooting everything really accurately after you finish training. Move on to the night of. You start off as. I want to say you start off as Leon. And you play as Leon. Up until you get into the police station. You play through the police station all the way up until you meet Marvin. And then you leave off from Leon and go on to Claire. So that juncture of the night, Claire should be trying to find her way in. So then you play as Claire for one mission. Probably would start off at about, you know, a little bit after her first mission. You start off as her trying to get into the police station. So we'd start off with her at the it's kind of tricky. You might have to make a whole new cutscene for that. Anyway, maybe we'd cut to Jill. Play as Jill for a minute. It's at this juncture that shit's hitting the fan with Jill and Tyrant's or not Tyrant, but Nemesis is chasing her. So we play as Jill all the way up until, let's see, you escape from Tyrant. Yeah, you'd have to try to set everything on a time scale so that you get everything just right. So let's see, you play as Jill. And let's see, we'd probably stop the playthrough with Jill and move on to Claire at about not much against the fire, but Maybe after she's yeah, probably after she's finished. Finished cutting back on the subway cars. I might actually leave off right there so that when we pick back up with her, or no, you want to the tire before the Nemesis chase. So you get her down to the subway, leave off from there. Then you move on to Claire, and she's meeting up with Leon. It's right before she meets up with Leon. Maybe, create a whole mission, widen the map and give her a box of ammunition and a gun and a police SWAT car that's sitting aside somewhere. Just program that into the game. Have her start off with a much larger map of the streets. Do a playthrough if you want to play through as a single character instead of the chronology playthrough where you're playing as all three chronology scale. So she would start about an hour in, because we would say that would probably take her an hour, and probably take Jill an hour, and Leon an hour. So you get Leon through after about 30 minutes. You play as Jill for about an hour, and then you play as Claire. And at that point, Claire's meeting up with Leon at the fence. She finds her way in shortly after. Maybe have a section where you play as both Leon and Claire, but you want it to be kind of scary, so they'd have to be sort of running on the streets in the rain with Tyrant chasing them. Maybe trying to hide in a house. And try to lose Tyrant in the house. Try to keep him in the house and blow up a propane tank to keep him in there and kill him. And that'd be a way to leave off. You go back to Jill. And you cut back to Claire and them, and they're headed into the gun station. Or a gun shop to get some more ammo and some guns. Meet up with, I don't feel like finishing this thought right now. I ought to write up a script for my own Resident Evil video game, how I do it. Maybe even on Onimusha 1 as well. But yeah. All in all, out of 5 stars, I'd give Resident Evil 2 Remake probably 4.5. I'd give Resident Evil 3, I'd probably give that 3 stars. Just for the simple fact that the game was probably about 2 or 3 hours of playtime too short. That's the reason why I feel like they should call it Resident Evil Raccoon City. And you can play as any one of the 3. Give Jill a little more time for her playthrough. But, give Claire her own independent storyline. Try to separate the parts that cross over or bleed over. Have Leon and Claire and Jill sort of all do their own thing. And try to make it a good 30-hour game. It's a 40-hour game. Add some graphics. Make sure everything's blended perfectly together. Make sure the environment is odd and different. You blend them both together. Maybe it'd be 60 gigabytes or 80 gigabytes by the time you're finished. It'd be fine. A hell of a Resident Evil game. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Resident Evil for now. Let's see, what else? What else can I talk about? So, I got my car. I didn't get my license until I was 27. I'm really glad to have my license now. It helps out a lot. I feel like I've lost my mind. My psychology is a little odd. My character's a little strange. I don't really like the way I behave or think or speak. The nuance of my personality. It's just way off from what I thought it would be when I was 8. I was kind of healthy, I thought, when I was 8 years old. But I think a lot of psychological trauma had taken place and sort of veered me off in the wrong direction. I'm kind of upset too about it because a lot of it was because of my parents and some of the ways they were behaving, which they didn't have to. But I'm going to let my mind rest for a second. I'll be right back.